We're here today with a few individuals from Win Mobile. On the right-hand side, we have Ken Campbell, he's the CEO. On the left-hand side, we have Chris Robbins. He's a Chief Customer Officer.
Yes.
And we're just going to have a few conversations here, just to get a little insight about what's going on here and about really what experience they're going to offer us Canadians when it comes to a new wireless choice in Canada. So in regards to the Win Mobile brand, what is the essence of the experience that you want to give us Canadians?
Well, I think the Win, if you look at the Win brand and the power of conversation that we're talking about here, we're trying to start a really active dialogue with customers.
Right.
We feel that customers, and actually it's not just ourselves, certainly customers feel this way, that it's been a one-way discussion for a long time.
Definitely.
And so customers are looking to have an operator that can listen, can take on their feedback and actually action it and turn it back into a valuable proposition for them.
Mm-hmm.
So everything starts that way. We've done a lot of research on where customers' frustration points are, what sort of new things that they're looking for, how they feel about the value propositions that they've got today in the market. And so what we come into the market with will reflect what customers have said to us.
And for the launch date, I spoke with Tony last week. November is still your targeted launch date, sometime in November, if everything goes as planned?
Correct. Yeah. No, exactly. We'd like to. It's not rocket science. We'd like to get out for the Christmas season.
Right.
Customers are going to be locking into contracts 3 years. All the stuff that they told us that they don't like.
Right.
So we'd like to get out, obviously, in time for Christmas. That's the target.
Yeah, the key thing is having a network that is ready. This is a huge infrastructure project. We're deploying hundreds of sites across the country. There's a lot of different components that have to come together, and because we're focused on the customer experience, we're going to launch when we feel that the experience is going to be strong enough, and of course when the market timing is right, to have a compelling launch.
Right. So you're going to have stores throughout Canada or throughout your launch cities, and then is there going to be other locations where they can get your devices? Or is it just the store locations?
Do you want to talk about distribution?
For sure. So yeah, we'll have our own store locations both in Toronto and Calgary, and then we're looking at the additional launch cities we talked about for Q1 of next year. So
Okay.
Vancouver, Edmonton, and Ottawa. We'll also there's two partnerships. We can't announce them because we haven't actually done the press release for them yet. But we've got two partnerships with independent distribution as well. So the target for launch is to be at about 100 points of sale across the two target cities.
Oh, great.
So that's decent.
That is decent, especially for launching.
No, exactly.
So how many different devices will you offer?
It's a really good question. So right now we're looking at about a half a dozen devices.
At launch time?
At launch. So
The thing is,
it's really tough with the AWS spectrum, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what you're going to see is the range of terminals, the range of handsets is going to change all the time, as you're seeing. And as we saw in the early days of PCS, where they started off with a limited range of handsets, but then it expanded over time.
Yep.
I think we've got a few great terminals. We're not announcing it yet, but we've got a few great terminals that are going to be really quite compelling for people.
Well, it's your point. They change quarterly. I love all the focus on what's for launch, which is of course where all the excitement is. But really, terminals every quarter you're coming up with something new. Pricing changes every year or so.
Definitely.
Yeah, launch is when it begins. But but frankly, we're building something that not just for November or December or when we go to market. We're building something that's going to be here for a long time.
Correct.
Exactly.
So will you offer standard devices or data devices as well, eventually?
Yeah.
Or at launch?
Both at launch, actually.
Nice.
So we're building an all IP network. We want to take advantage of the infrastructure we've got. It's an HSPA network. It's built, with LTE in mind, and the devices we've got are going to have to support that. So it's the opportunity we've got in the market is not just voice. It's definitely data.
Yep, that's awesome. It's fantastic. So someone who walks into a store, the overall experience from what is today, how will Win differ?
Yeah. So look at me.
Talk about the retail experience, because I think the retail experience, this is where it all starts. This is where the relationship with the customer begins. So that time, from the time you hear about our communications to the time you walk into our store or one of our partner stores, that's really important. So we've thought a lot about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple of things in the stores. One is we're not actually going to be having a cash desk, any kind of a barrier with the customers. So essentially in the stores, completely digital environment, all of our points of sale are essentially customer facing as well as rep facing. So when a store rep is not using the terminal, customer can use it. So if a customer wants to come in and do a completely self-service activation in store, he can.
Wow.
If he wants to come in and do a full service activation in store, he can. If a customer wants to order online and pick up in store, he can. If a customer just wants to buy the handset, go home and activate online, he can. So essentially the entire experience. Well, and we talk about 4 things, and I realize that it comes to how do you actually execute this stuff. And we talk about value, simplicity, control, and dialogue. So Cam's talked about the dialogue we're having with customers. The control is giving those customers those options. So they're not standing in a store for 45 minutes, filling out paperwork, filling out forms to get a phone activated. They can do it however they want. If they want to go through a full activation, they can do it. If not, they don't have to.
That's
and
amazing.
In store, I said more of a digital environment, more of an open, more Apple type of store environment than maybe some of the other ones out there. So it's pretty cool.
I mean, one of the things that we've done, and it's going to make us different, is if you think about the process that you go through with the phone company from the time you activate to the time you get billed to the time you get served, we've really taken that apart, and because we're starting with a white sheet of paper, we've reassembled it in a way to really think about what are the pain points for customers. They're really points of torture that customers go through when they activate in a store, or when they get their bill, or when they get served at the end of the day. And so we've tried to take those apart, focus on those points of frustration, and make it just a much easier experience.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. Especially
it's basics, but it is what customers actually in Canada have been asking for.
Especially when it comes to wireless, right? Because they just want a nice, clean, simple approach to get an easy way to go on with their life.
Well, this is voice is a commodity. It has been for 100 years, and in mobile, it has been for 10 years. You don't need 45 price plans for a commodity. Like, it needs to be simple so they can understand it, pick the one that's right for them. It should be a very limited choice, and they're cool.
So how many price plans will you offer?
We're looking at 3, and that's probably 2 more than we need. But
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. They said all you have to do is ask customers what they would expect, and that's what it comes down to, is the 2 or 3 plans. So.
And then billing will be a simple bill?
So you can do billing however you want. So for us, it's you can pay in advance, you can pay in arrears. The payment method is irrespective of the plan. So, so postpaid, prepaid, whatever you like.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It sounds really exciting. So,
as Ken was saying too, I mean, both of us have worked in operators where you've been trying to create a customer experience in spite of all of your legacy systems and the processes, and it's that twisting and turning, which all comes down to the frontline guys like we're saying who we're training now. The beauty of starting with a clean sheet is every single process we've designed, every system we bought, every platform we bought has been designed around a customer experience. So we literally started for the first 2-3 months to come up with the requirements for those platforms was nothing but customer experience mapping. So what's the process that a customer goes through in every transaction, and what's the outcome we want, and then design the systems and processes to support that. So you take that, combine that with the training and hiring the right people on the front lines, like it's
and if you build a proposition in a simple way, I mean, if you think about the frustration points that customers have had, a lot of it has to do with the complexity. It's not easy to understand. So if you build something that's simple, incidentally, building all these systems and processes is not simple, but the end result from a customer's perspective should be something that's simple and that's easy.
Right.
And if you can do that, then also it has a benefit on the service side for your customer-facing people, whether they're in the call center or in our stores. Then they can deal with issues in a much easier way. They can build up their knowledge base, focus a little bit more on other value-added pieces that the customer wants, rather than trying to spend all their time explaining.
Exactly. So it really seems like you're streamlining the process and having the customers at the forefront.
Yeah.
Rather than sit back and just take the money, you want them to have a great experience while they're using your devices as well.
Exactly.
So it's pretty exciting. We're excited to see what happens. So congratulations. We'll keep following it. So keep on using the football there. And thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Pleasure.